you know, whatever you say. I was so miserable that I told myself, you know what? I am done drinking. Like, everything good in my life happened the minute I stopped drinking. What's up, everybody? Today, I wanted to talk to you and get a little bit vulnerable with you so that I could possibly inspire you or maybe get you a little bit uncomfortable, but talk about something that was a very big struggle for me early in my career and something that once I made this change, changed everything about my life. The point of this video is two things. One, to be entirely vulnerable with you. Two, to let you know that if you're going through something, chances are you're not the only one out there who's been through that. And I want to let you know about something that happened to me in my life, how I handled it, the struggles I dealt with, and the decision that I made. So I'm going to talk today about why I quit drinking. For those of you who don't know, I have not drank since July of 2007. So for the last 15 years, I have not had, well, I would say I have not had a drop of alcohol because I've actually had a beer in London and a couple sips of a cocktail because one time in London, I thought I was drinking a near beer, a non-alcoholic beer. And I said, I'll have another one of those near beers. And the guy said, no, that was actually an alcoholic beer. And I was like, great. I just broke my streak of sobriety. I was raised where my mother raised me a majority of the time because my parents had partial custody of me and my dad had me on the weekends and my mom had me during the week, most weekdays, right? And so my mom never drank alcohol, still doesn't drink alcohol. I've never seen her actually ever drink alcohol. My dad, he had a nickname in college called Captain Good Time. He doesn't partake in anything. I've seen him intoxicated, but it has been quite some time. And I've never seen anybody in my family actually struggle with alcoholism or anything like it. I'm in my late teens. I really didn't even party in high school with alcohol. You know, we might have partaked in a little bit of you know what in high school, but I really wasn't a drinker in high school. I worked while I was in high school. I worked at Burger King. I worked at Skipper's. I worked at Dairy Queen. I worked. That's what I did, right? So I didn't party a lot. I didn't even like the taste of booze. It was terrible, right? It was just this disgusting thing that I didn't even like. But as I went to college and I became part of the Red Robin crew, we started partying. And partying means drinking, right? So I started picking up drinking. Alcohol gives you liquid courage, right? Something that you might not say when you're completely sober. You have a couple drinks and it sounds really good when you say it. Something that you might not do, like approach a girl, you might do if you have a couple cocktails. For the first part of my career of drinking, you know, it was just typical. I was a college student. We'd go out, we'd drink, we'd party. And, you know, my good friend, my best friend, my still current best friend, his name was the legend in college because he was known as dressing up in gorilla suits and drinking. He would fall from like 5-story buildings and land on his feet, break his ankles, all drinking, right? He was known as a legend because he could literally drink more than anybody else. And at that point in time, that was kind of like, you know, pounding your chest that I can actually out-drink everybody. And one night we were hanging out at this great place called Jillian's. And Jillian's was a pool hall in downtown Seattle. The guys who I was following ended up driving so fast that I couldn't catch up with them. And so I ended up speeding and I got pulled over and the cops smelled booze on me. And I was 19 years old at the time and I got arrested for a DUI. In Washington at that point in time, it's still probably the case, you actually face 2 charges. You have one from the DMV, and then you have a criminal charge from the state of Washington from driving under the influence of alcohol. So since I was a minor, I was arrested and I was taken to jail. So I actually had to go through these classes called alcohol awareness. And I actually had to take the bus for like 3 months because I couldn't have my driver's license, right? That really didn't teach me anything. It just taught me that, hey, you know what? You made a mistake. You go pay the price. You can't drive your car anymore. And if you guys are empathizing with me right now, or if you guys are going through a struggle of your own right now, whether it's with weight or whether it's with alcohol or whether it's with, you know, something that is pulling on you, understand that you're not alone. And this is a real estate investment channel, right, where we talk about all things real estate, but this is a part of my journey that I wanted to share with you because I feel that if I can help one person who's struggling with this, then that's going to help another person, right? And this is something that really was hard for me, right? But as I got a little bit older, started going to college, I'm partying, I'm having a good time, I'm writing emails to myself so I can remember what the heck happened. Guess what? When you like to drink, guess who you hang out with? You hang out with people who like to drink. Everybody's bragging. Have you blacked out? Yeah, I've blacked out. Have you forgotten? I don't remember anything from last night. That was like a badge of honor at that point in time. And my friend, the legend, we went through college. I graduated college and I said, let's go to work. Let's do this whole thing. And then it was time, we're working at Red Robin. What do you do after you're done with work? Well, you go to the bar and you go have a good time. One thing I noticed when I drank alcohol was that I forgot things and I spent money, right? Like that was the thing. So I'd go through my credit card bill and I'm like, oh man, boy, it was completely normal behavior that I signed up as. This is a young stage of my life. I'm partying. I'm enjoying myself. So is everybody else I'm hanging out with, and they're doing the exact same things that I do, so nothing is wrong at all. So what changed? When you're drinking, you're doing it to have a good time, or you're doing it to relax, or you're doing it for whatever reason. I started noticing my friend, the legend, wasn't having a good time anymore. And then the legend quit drinking. And then I realized that I was the new legend. And at that point in time, I had actually moved down to Las Vegas. If you're a drinker and you move to Las Vegas, I can tell you what, there are no bars that close and there is no times that close. So prior to that, there was a couple, or probably about a dozen instances that had happened. There were multiple bar fights. I had been in a fight in Portland where a guy broke a beer bottle over my head. I'd been in a fight in Renton, Washington when someone smashed a pint glass into my face. I'd been in several other fights in several other bars. And you know what? I just chalked this up as, hey, no big deal. We're just growing up and living life. There was an event at my aunt's wedding that I had embarrassed my dad a little bit by getting a little drunk and being the bartender, right? Like I got behind the bar, bartender's gone, and I'm pouring drinks for everybody at the bar because you got liquid courage, right? I moved down to Las Vegas. I'm living with my cousin. We're partying hard. I remember my cousin kind of giving me a hard time a little bit because I would come home really, really late or really, really early. I'd come home and going back at Intercom, I remember going out with my boss. We had these clients and they were from Playboy. I worked at 100.7 The Buzz FM and we went out with these clients and I got completely intoxicated. My boss told me the next day, he's like, do you get that way when you drink? And I said, what way? Like, what are you talking about? Huh? He's like, well, you shouldn't drink that way around clients if you get that way. There's a time that I actually had to tell my boss, I got in a car accident when I had really been in a fight because my head was all busted up. I remember having those conversations with myself early in the morning in the shower after having a long night out saying, I think I got a problem with this alcohol. I really identified that I had a problem. And so I talked to my friend, the legend, and I said, what do I do here? He's like, well, it's called the dirty secret. Once you know you've got a problem, the party's over. And so at that point in time, I realized that drinking wasn't fun for me anymore. And I started thinking about how many successful guys do I know that sleep in their car? None. How many successful guys do I know get in bar fights? Not many. How many successful guys that I know have a problem with alcohol? How many people that I look up to are doing the behaviors that I'm doing? And I realized that list was not very long. What benefits do alcohol offer me? Cost money, feel like crap, but I got liquid courage. But that's not always a positive. What I realized was all of these negative things continue to happen, right? I'm getting in fights, I'm spending money, waking up with a hangover. What happened was I go to this party, I get asked to leave, I get asked to come back, and then the next day, the person who invited me to the party, I go golfing with her dad. And I am so hungover that day. It is the most miserable golf game of my entire life. I was so miserable that I told myself, you know what? I am done drinking. That was in February of 2007. Now, if you remember, I said I quit drinking in July of 2007. I had moved down to Vegas in 2006. $800,000 in bad real estate debt, $26,000 in credit card debt, and I got a drinking problem. What's going to make you realize you got a drinking problem? When you have no success. Back in Seattle, I'm drinking, but I'm making great money. I'm top sales guy, top alcoholic probably too. Life's good, no problems, right? Status quo, keep rolling. But I moved down to Vegas. I'm a licensed realtor. I've sold one transaction in 6 months. I'm drinking to feel better. So I had a conversation with myself. I had to get through a bunch of nights of detoxing and not feeling good. Finally, I realized, oh my gosh, I'm in a world of crap right now. I've got all this bad debt. I got no prospects of making money. I had brought $40,000 in savings down to Vegas. That's gone. I've got $26,000 in credit card debt and I'm maxed out. I've got $800,000 in real estate debt and I can't make a clear decision. And I called my dad at that point in time. I said, Dad, I've got a problem with alcohol. And he said, yeah. I seen that one come, and I told my mom, I think I got a problem with alcohol. They all kind of agreed. I have to make a decision. I have no more money. I'm not making any money in real estate. I'm really stressed out because when your brain is attached to alcohol for a long period of time, you're not thinking clearly, right? You're totally a slave to the alcohol. At that point in my time, I really didn't have a program, wasn't working anything. I just said, I'm quitting. I'm done. I'm not doing anything anymore. I am completely done. And the reason I had to go back to Seattle is I had no money. So I actually had applied for a job to sell advertising in Vegas. I didn't get that job. So I called back the guy who had worked with me and I said, I'm looking for a job. I'm not making any money out here in Vegas. Do you have anything for me? He's like, I'll give you $100,000 a year to come back. Obviously I have no money. So I moved in to my mentor's basement and took the job at Fisher Radio. Thank you, Bob Boyd. Thank you, Fisher Radio. And then I had got my real estate license. All of a sudden, all these good things start to happen to me, right? Because I had quit drinking. My first REO account, even though I'm living in Seattle now, I've got my first REO account, which is really how I made a lot of money, and I have to renew my license. So I come back down to Vegas and I go meet with my good buddy, who also is a big drinker, and I'm supposed to be at class the next day, and I just get hammered. I ended up going on a bender that whole weekend. My cousin drives me to the airport the next day. This is where really things changed for me. Once we got to the airport, I go to the bar and I told the bartender, I said, I'm an alcoholic, so give me a beer. And I had admitted in my mind that I had a drinking problem, right? And so I continued to drink all the way till I got to Seattle, right? I drank on the plane. They weren't even serving booze, but I was so addicted to alcohol that I actually conned the stewardess just by being nice. I wouldn't say conned. I sold them. I'm like, they're not serving booze because it's turbulent right now, but I'm really nervous when I fly. So can I get a couple drinks? And I got some drinks, right? And so then I go back to Seattle. I fly and I drive, and the first exit I take when I pick up my car is I pull into the No Bowl Saloon in Renton, Washington. And now I've been drinking all weekend and I continue to drink. And it just so happens that the guy sitting next to me at the bar, he actually is my sister's boss. And my sister had never heard me intoxicated, but I decided to call her that day. And I called her and she said, what's wrong with you? And I said, nothing, we're just hanging out at the bar. Whatever you say. And she's like, you don't sound good. I was trying to leave the bar and a friend of mine who was at the bar stopped me. He says, are you still living with the person that you're living with? And I was living with that person, and that person came and picked me up, took me home, and they said, I didn't think you drink. And then they recorded me. And this was like a David Hasselhoff moment. If you guys remember the video from David Hasselhoff eating a cheeseburger on the floor. And I looked at it and I said, wow, I really got a problem here and I got to get this solved. And so that next night was the hardest night of my life. It was the most scared I have ever been. I realized at that point in time that I was helpless over alcohol, that it had a hold of me, and I prayed. I am not a big religious guy, but I prayed and I said, just get me through tonight and I will make a promise with you that I will never, ever, ever touch alcohol again. Until that day, besides the accidental beer in London and the accidental drink on accident or me pulling something on accident, I have maintained sobriety for the last, I guess that's 15 years now almost. The minute that I quit drinking, success found me. Like everything good in my life happened the minute I stopped drinking. The minute I stopped drinking and I realized that I had a problem, and I went to some AA meetings and I went and I got the support that I needed to get me through the rocky 6 months, because the first 6 months of quitting drinking was really, really tough. It's now been 15 years and I can tell you that it's gone by like nothing. I wouldn't change it for the world, and hopefully I never, ever, ever pick up alcohol again, because by quitting drinking, it changed my life. And I hope that this video inspires you to do something that will change your life, whether that's make a change by investing in real estate or whether that's kick a bad habit that you currently have. If you're going through something, if you're going through a tough time in your life, myself too, have been through the exact same thing that you've been through, and that other people have been the exact same way. Make the tough decisions that you need to make in life and understand you're not alone. You're not alone if you got a problem with alcohol. You're not alone if you got a problem with food. You're not alone if you got a problem with gambling. But if you don't solve your problem, it can end up ruining your life. If I didn't quit drinking, I would have ruined my life. There's been millions of lives ruined from people who have gotten behind the wheel drunk. And you know what? I did that too often. So I'm so glad I quit drinking. I hope this video inspires you to do something great, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Peace.